record on. Okay, so Doinit4Dan players. I'm very, very lucky to be able to bring you the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Colin Robertson, one of my best mates. Known each other for a long time, done a lot of training together, done a lot of crazy things together, and he's definitely the smartest man I know. So when it comes to sports science and human performance, Col is the man. Help people row across the Atlantic, climb Everest, plan all kinds of stuff. So Col, no pressure.
Yeah.
We've got 30 hours plus. You know, probably need it's the nutrition that the lads are really sort of. We've tried a 12-hour. You know, some of us have pasta, the old classic bit of pasta and vegetables. Can you give us some do's and don'ts? What you think would work? We're starting 8 o'clock in the morning on the Friday, and hopefully playing till 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock on the Saturday. What would you suggest? Let's start carb loading in the build-up. Would you suggest we carb load in the build-up?
You can. I mean, there's a lot of mythology around carb loading, Neil, and most people get it wrong. And what I'd encourage people to do really is avoid the day before the scenario. Because what happens is when people carb load, they typically pack in a load of carbs the day before the event. And all that does is it leaves them really heavy, bloated. And you've got to bear in mind the carb holds a lot of water. And also what it can lead to is what we call a carb dump, whereby you've packed yourself full of these carbs, you're holding a lot of water. And when you start activity, really what your body wants to do is get shut of them. And it has no idea that you're planning 30 hours worth of activity. So it kind of goes, right, let's go at it, because it's the body's preferred fuel source. So what I'd encourage you to do, because Friday you start, I'd encourage you to, on the Monday, just kind of increase your total energy intake by about 100 kcal. So, you're talking about having an extra 2 servings of carbohydrates, around about 30 grams per serving. On Tuesday, do the same again. On the Wednesday, have a good day's eating. So make sure you put things like, wholemeal pasta in there. You might have a couple of wholemeal bread, bit of brown rice, black rice, oats, like porridge oats. Like kind of punctuate the day by making sure that your meals are probably a good half based on complex carb. So this is on the Wednesday now.
Yeah.
And then on the Thursday, eat normally. Just have a normal eating day for you. Because then what you're going to get then is you're going to eat normally. You're going to top up those carb reserves, but you're going to get rid of that bloatedness, and you're not going to be kind of so over brimming that the body's ready to shoot them. You're going to sleep better, rest better, and you'll be kind of prepped. That's a very crude way of carb loading. And if we're working individually, we'd probably do it different. But I think that's going to be a strategy that works pretty well across a group, is to build it that way. So gradual increase Monday, Tuesday, really top up nicely. So make sure you eat well on the Wednesday and take every opportunity to put more carb in the system. If you want to measure it by the gram, I'd try and get about 5 grams per kilogram of your own body mass in. Okay, so you're going to have a good old carb day.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a good carb day.
Make sure you're getting some good fats in there. Okay, what I mean by that are things like, stuff that you're going to get from nuts, avocado, stuff that you can get from like fatty fish. So make sure you're getting good fats in across that week. Eat normally on the Thursday, but make sure there's carb in your diet. You're probably going to be back down to around about 2.5 to 3 grams per kilogram. I make sure, obviously, the missing component is the protein, but right now you want to make sure there's enough protein in the system just to do its normal job. The big protein kick's going to come after the event. So just make sure that you're targeting that carb, fats. And then Thursday, should we delve into some ideas for how to better manage Thursday? There's 2 components to it, really.
Okay, good. Because that answers one of the questions. One of the lads said he was bloated on the day, and I presume that's because he's done that sort of like acute carb loading sort of strategy, and it just hasn't quite worked. He said it's nothing new to his diet. So that must be that, mustn't it? I would have thought. That was Mark. So hopefully that answers your question, Mark.
Really common, and lots of runners do it, and cyclists. And a good example of it is go and have a look at the first mile of the Great North Run. there's lines of people having a pee. They've all been the pasta party the day before.
Yeah.
You know, the minute you start activity, that signal goes. So
perfect.
yeah, avoid that happening. Yeah.
And
so then,
Thursday.
8 o'clock. Well, it's Thursday, eat normal, but make sure you get around about 3 grams to carb. Make sure you're getting your fats in there. It's kind of like a normal eating day, but you know, probably making sure you don't miss any meals. Brilliant. And cut off your eating about, let's say you're going to bed around about 10, then cut off your eating no later than 8. So 20 hours, finish your eating, get into bed. I know it's a long stint ahead, chaps, but what I would encourage you to do is kind of take this on for the full hit. And what I want you to do is have a breakfast on the morning of the Friday around about 0800 hours. No, sorry, that's when you start, 0600 hours. Yeah. So you want to be up so you can have a breakfast. Now, the way to get ready for that is rather than have to get up and make breakfast, you might want to do something like overnight oats. So make up your porridge mix, get it all set, put it in the fridge, wake up at 6 and just eat it. Eat it and hydrate, get yourself set. There's a good 2 hours then before you commence your activity. So that's strategy across the week, because I know you're tapering then. You're really going to have the system primed and ready to go. You're going to have some carb in the stomach, ready to set you off for the day. And, you know, try not to make too an explosive start at 8. Start gradually. You've got a long day ahead. Big area that I work in, you know this, Neil, is endurance. And with endurance, the saying is start with the end in mind. You know, so consider how you're going to feel at hour 29, hour 30, not how you're going to feel at minute 29. I'm making a big start and let's get stuck in and set the tone. Do set the tone, but set the tone recognizing that this is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So nice, you know, you want to get it so you get through your first hour rotation, that you feel up, done a little bit, all within your control, working moderately, you know, and that you're largely working off carbohydrate, a little bit of fat. This is from an energy point of view. When we're working moderate, we're not going to be spewing a load of carbs. We're going to be ticking over. So your first hour's rest. I've got a bit of a thought about this, got a little bit of a plan that I'd suggest you do. So in your first hour, you've just done your first hour. The focus is setting you up for the second hour. There's not much to recover from. You know, in sport, we're either preloading or we're recovering. There are 2 phases. Done an hour, there's not a lot to recover from at this stage if you've done the activity right. But we do want to make up for a little bit of energy spent. As soon as you walk off that pitch, hydrate, have a drink. This is your first cycle. And then you want to take on board around about 50 grams of carbohydrate and probably about 10 to 15, maybe 10 grams of a mix between protein and fat. So what I'd say you do is still going to be early in the morning. You know, it's pre-PM. So you might have something that day you want to have like chopped up bananas ready. You want to have bowls of mixed nuts. Great ones to go for are walnuts, almonds, cashews, loads of calories in them. Really good fats. So they're really going to help it propping up your immune system and contribute towards that energy. And then have things like, you know, chopped up flapjacks, you know, have some kind of, you might have little small bowls of brown rice that are all cooked and ready to go, pasta, but you're probably going to get to them later in the day. In the morning, I'd really stick to the mixed nuts approach, banana approach, little bit of oats approach, trying to go through them just small amounts. And ideally, you want to take on board around about 50 grams of carb, which is a good serving of carb, by the way.
What's a banana? How many grams in a banana?
25 grams.
Right, okay.
In a banana. So, you know, you're kind of thinking, but the mistake that people make is that they go, you know, that was all right, done an hour, I don't need that much. I'll see how I am later on. You've got to be setting yourself up for later on, because later on is when it's all going to be spent and start to kick in. So You've got to start putting stuff in the bank before you run in a deficit. That's how you run flat too. So first hour, hydrate, get something in the stomach, and then rest off. Get ready for your second hour. When you get your second break, similar really, mirror the same kind of principle. You know, get off, think about your hydration. Again, hit the carbohydrate. You want to have a bit of those fats available. You might, at this stage, you might want to have things whereby you're having a bit of pasta. You might have a bit of kind of boiled egg, you know, like pre-cooked egg. Have that available, so we're getting a bit of proteins in there, a little bit more fats, have a bit more avocado ready. Keep the bananas and stuff ready for the day. A great strategy to have, and have it chopped up and sliced up. Malt loaf, little cubes of malt loaf, dead easy to eat, a mouthful of it. Got some natural sugars in there, so they're going to give you a lift. Getting some fibrous carbohydrates in there. So these like a nice little strategy, easy to eat, quite pleasant. And you're only having like cubes of it. Have it all chopped up rather than trying to eat big slices of it. But the other thing as well about those kind of malt loaves, there's a banana malt loaf, there's a standard malt loaf. You can add a little bit of butter to the top of it. Makes it easier to eat and digest, and you get a little bit of fat in there as well. So these are good. Another note on that is it's good to have like ready on the side, because you're stopping for an hour. Have some whole earth peanut butter. You know, that's great for getting fats and energy into the system and a bit of protein.
Nice.
And you know, just spread that on a bit of wholemeal toast, wholemeal bread, fold it over, put a bit of banana in the middle. You're good to go. That works better than you think.
Love it. Love it.
But the thing not to do is overwhelm the stomach and have a big amount of food. And really what you want to do is consider that hour you've got in 3 phases. So you've got the first 20 minutes, eat then. Second 20 minutes, rest, recover, take care of yourself, have a bit of a stretch. Last 20 minutes, sip, have a drink, start to get yourself up and moving, ready, boom, back on. So divide that hour into 3. Now, when we get to the 4th one, what I want you to try and do is have a power nap. Now, you might not go asleep. That's not what power napping is all the time. Get off the pitch, have a drink, eat something, might be a smaller amount, and then find somewhere you can just lie down, black out your eyes, and set a timer, 20 minutes, and just lie in what we call a sleep-like rested state. So just lie, totally let the system shut down for a little bit. Once your little alarm goes off and you've got 20 minutes before you're back on, get up, have a sip, maybe have something like a little cube of malt loaf, get the system going again, and back on. And follow that routine round. So every 3rd or 4th one, try and crowbar a little bit of a power nap in, and you're dividing those sections up into 3. Hydrate and consume, rest and replenish, prep and back on. And you work through. Now, when you get your 2-hour break, this is your window of opportunity, okay? So what you want to do with that is get off. You want to have a bigger serving of food. So in this one, you want to have what's probably going to be the closest thing you have to what looks like a meal throughout the whole challenge. So you want to eat a bit more, okay? Feed your appetite. You've got 2 hours. So in that first hour, make sure you hydrate, you know, take on board what I can only describe as what would constitute a meal. So you're going to have your macros spread out. You're going to have a good serving of carbohydrates, proper good serving of protein. You're going to have your fats in there. That's where you want to put your fibrous carbs. So things like your dark leafy greens. You know, if you're going to put some veg and stuff, target at that session.
Right.
Okay, in that 2-hour one. Get that done. Then what I want you to do is get into that sleep-like rested state, and you want to try and get 40 minutes, because 40 minutes is almost not far off a complete sleep cycle. So even if you can't find sleep, and you might do, depending on when it is, take yourself off, lie down. If you can take stuff with you on the day to shield the ears, close off sounds, 40 minutes, full on, shut down, rest, okay? Then what I want you to do is get up. So we should now be into the 2nd hour of your rest. I want you to get up, and I want you to have whatever you prefer, but have something like a coffee, a strong cup of tea, strong green tea, you know, something that's naturally got caffeine in. Once you've drunk that, I want you to lie down again for about 10 minutes, then get up and start getting yourself set. That will give you an awesome lift.
Love that.
That's where you'll maximize, 1, the rest side, 2, the potential for the caffeine to give you a boost, and you've got food in the system. So that 2-hour is your critical 2 hours. So just to recap on that: off, hydrate, proper meal, rest and digest for 40 minutes, okay? Sleep like rested state. Get up, coffee, tea, green tea, whatever your caffeine hit is, lie back down for another 10 minutes, and then start to do your prep back onto the pitch. That opportunity is going to make or break your day. Right. And then we fall back into the routine of the other hour, optimizing those breaks. So hour 1, we've reset the clock now. Hour 1, hydrate, consume, rest, prep. Hour 2, hydrate, consume, rest, prep. Hour 3, you might try and get your next power nap in.
Love that, Col. Love that. So in theory, if we break it down into that 4-hour block, you've got 7 of them, and one of them's the big 2 hours. Right. Okay. I like the idea. I like the idea of these little starting off, getting the naps, getting the power naps in early. So that's middle of the night. That's gonna really be key for us.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
We've got to force the routine, and remember, this challenge lasts only so long as you break the record. It is artificial. You are going to have to dig deep. This is a strategy to get you through this. It's very artificial. The nature of these challenges is, your proper recovery doesn't start until you finish. All this is how you get through and function well and perform well and set a new record. So don't get lost in that. Don't get lost in this notion of, prep and recovery. This is all about getting through the event. And that's what these sessions are in between it. Once you've done it all and you've smashed the record, which you're going to do, you can recover then. You know what I mean? Recover at leisure.
Alcohol will be the chosen recovery, I think.
Proven way, hydrate from rugby.
Right, got a couple of questions. What times? Right, we've covered that. What times? What time should we have in our meals provided? So we've got someone who's been kind enough to offer us some meal preps. What's a good standard meal prep for us all to have?
How do you mean, mate? Like as in quantifying the meal?
Someone's offered to do a load of small little meal prep meals for us all. What would be a good standard one that you think would sort of cover everything, cover all bases in a little pot?
What you want to avoid, this is probably easier to begin with, you want to avoid spicy things and rich sauces.
Okay.
They're going to really upset us. The nature of the event you're doing is going to take its toll on your stomach. Okay, so recognize that from the start. So you don't want to add to that with loads of spices and rich tomato, creamy sauces. Okay. I know that they can make dull stuff taste great, but you just kind of got to take a bit of this on the chin for the course of this. So I would encourage, what you want to have is something that's around about half the plate. You're looking at a meal, half the plate's carbohydrate. So that's either going to be your kind of classic things are going to be your wholemeal pastas. It might be noodles, black, brown rice. Could be something like a couscous. It's a bit more of a fibrous carb, but works well. It could be baked potato, something that's going to be even a starchy carb, something that's going to be really solidly carb-based. Then you want a quarter of your plate to be fat-based. So again, things like getting in there could be where you get a 2-for-1, getting a portion of fish in there. Could be egg, avocado. You could be drizzling a bit of olive oil over this. I'd encourage you to do so, actually. And then you want to get a tiny bit in a meal. You do want to get a bit of fibrous carb, like your veggies, because they're going to help with your digestion. So that's going to help you to digest all that stuff, and it's not just sitting there and your stomach's finding it hard to absorb. So divide it that way: 50% carb, 25 to 30% is going to be your fats and into your kind of fibrous carbs, and then you want to make up the rest with protein. Remember, protein is going to give you, I know there's a ton of debate around this, get me started, but protein's not going to contribute towards your energy on the day, but you are going to be bringing about a fair amount of muscle trauma, muscle breakdown. That won't really repair until you stop. But having protein available is going to kind of help to buffer a little bit. And also that protein itself, as a complete meal, helps with digestion, helps with absorption. So I'd keep your proteins really simple. So chicken, lean chicken, turkey, fish, avoid red meat. Red meat is a surefire way to hit the brakes on your digestion.
Nice.
Okay, so avoid red meat, avoid spicy things, avoid rich sauces.
Brilliant. I think that answers the meal prep question. Hydration, just obviously plenty of hydration. That's key. Gels, and I've got some hydration tablets. Some of the the tube full of little capsules for the lads. They're helpful. The salt tablets.
Yeah, because me, normally I'm not a big fan of these things, but in this instance, it's like when we work with the Tour de France guys and that, you're out for such a long time. It's hard to maintain your hydration status just by sipping water. You'd be you'd be taking gallons. So yeah, salt tabs, a bit of electrolyte tablets if you can get them, and put them in Noon, NWN Noon, great brand for electrolyte tablets. Just put half a tab in about 500 ml of water. And the thing to do is when you're playing, if there's a stop in play or you've got a bottle side, you can take a sip. Just take a sip. That's great. When you walk off the pitch, because it's your hour break or 2 hour break, the first thing I want you to do is start on your hydration. And within that hour, try and take on board a good 300 to 500 mil. But I mean, that's not a lot. It's 300 to 500 mil. You're talking this much. It's not a lot. It's half a litre. So if you just use the hour to sip away on that, it's easily done. Easily done. Okay. Perfect. And if you're punctuating it that way, and if you're using a salt tab, if you're sticking electrolyte in it, you're going to be fine. You know, that should be more than enough to get you through, especially if you've got that chance to just sip a little bit in any stop and play on the pitch, which there won't be many because of the name of the game, but you might have the odd opportunity. Yeah,
mate, that sounds good. Have you done anything with people through the middle of the night that they've struggled with? Hopefully the weather's going to be, you know, not too cold. Anything that you've come across? Any tips? Just thinking now, just overall tips now for us. I think you've nailed the nutrition there. I think there's so much good stuff.
Well, absolutely. Overall, you're working against your body clock by being active of a night time, and you haven't. Well, there's actually a little bit that's going for you, but I'll explain that in a minute. But you haven't done any kind of specific time of day prep for this, so your body's going to take a hit. You're out of phase with your circadian rhythm, but that's all right. It's one night. You're going to be fine. But recognize two things really: is that all the while you're active, the sunlight is gone. Melatonin wants to onset and put you in a sleepier state, and you will be just chipping away at your carbs. Now, when these two combine of a nighttime, you start to catastrophize. We know this study after study. When our carbohydrate reserve gets a little bit low, starts to bottom out, and we remove certain stimulus, then we start to catastrophize because our core temperature is dropping. And it's the opposite of where we want it to be to function physically really well. So you start to get negative thoughts. You start to go, I'm not enjoying this. This is tough. Don't like it. I don't think we're going to do it. You start to have self-doubt. So by keeping on top of our carbs, we're going to fend this off.
A few of our lads used to have that before a game, to be fair, Carl, but we won't go there.
Yeah. But keeping on top of your carbs throughout the mission is going to help that, because you're not going to let them bottom out. So that's a big way to help it. And then overnight, no matter what time of year, you're going to get a temperature inversion. The external temperature is going to come down and the sun's gone. So your brain is going, I should be winding down here. So no matter what, even if it's a warm night, you want to have a good base layer ready, long sleeve base layer. So when you're playing in the night, you're keeping yourself warmer. By keeping yourself warmer, you're going to be kind of influencing a better response from the muscle to want to function at that time of night. Okay, because physiologically your body's saying, I don't really want to go there. A lot of people would criticize this, but I've used it and I know it's going to work well. Don't go crazy on caffeine at night time, but have a clever caffeine strategy. And that's what I mean about that suggestion I gave you before. But you know, if you've come off the pitch at midnight and you've got your hour, I would 100% say that drink you get when you come off, have a bit of caffeine in it, have something to eat, lie down. This is the way to maximize the caffeine response, by the way. Lie down, shut everything off, 20 minutes, back up, set and prep. That caffeine's going to kick in and you're going to feel great for the next hour. But that rest phase, once you've consumed the caffeine, is the secret. Promise you. You do that, the caffeine's going to kick in and you're going to feel great for the next hour. Don't do it every hour, because that's going to rip your stomach apart and then you're going to get jittery and all the rest of it. Yeah. So be clever with it. It might be that you go, I'm going to do my first one at 1 o'clock in the morning and then 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, you don't want to be hitting it every time you've got an hour break, but do use it to some effect. You don't want to rely on it, but you want it to be something that can really punctuate how you're going to thrive overnight. The great thing is that you're going to have maximum, what are you looking at? 6.5, maybe 7 hours darkness.
Maybe not even that. I think
not
10 till 4, 6 maybe.
Yeah, 6 hours darkness. Brilliant. Yeah. Great time of year to do it. So that's playing to your favour as well. Because I promise you, the minute that sun starts to rise and the brain receives that signal, you're going to start to feel better again. You'll just, because that's the trigger that tells your body we're good to go again. So once you get through the night, everything's going to start to come back on side again. You're going to start to feel stronger.
Love it. So do not get cold. That was number.
Don't get cold. Keep yourself warm overnight. Okay. So counteract what your body thinks, because the ideal sleep temperature when it's dark is 16 degrees, and then your core temperature drops a little bit, and that's boom, lights out. So you want to keep yourself nice and warm. So you're counteracting that because the light's gone and you're keeping yourself moving. Those two stimulus, they're going to be a great way to survive the night. Yeah.
Love it. Anything else? Any absolute no-nos? Any absolute that you've heard? You've had experience.
Yes. Don't miss a feed opportunity. Do not fall into the trap of going, I'm all right now. I'll start later. Surefire way to collapse.
Right.
Strategy starts from the minute you wake up. Hit that 600 hour meal. First hour, first break, take something on board. Stick to the strategy, okay? Because naively, like I said at the start, commence with the end in sight. You've got to think of where you need to be at hour 25, 26, 27. That's all based on what you do at hour 1, 2, 3, 4. So don't miss a meal. Don't miss a feed opportunity. Don't hyperhydrate. Don't go crazy, but don't miss an opportunity to get some fluid on board. Always be planning forward. Be planning forward. Remember that dropping carbs will work against you physically and psychologically. So we want to keep them there. And the only other thing I'd say is, like, it's a giddy game, rugby, innit? And these lads have played and like to get giddy, I'd imagine. Don't set the pace.
Plenty of them, Col. You've just called it. You've just called it already.
Do you know what I mean? Set it right from the start. If when you know you've smashed that record and you're just now playing into new ground, do what you want. Do you know what I mean? Be careful, because that's probably where you get an injury. But if you want to up the tempo and all the rest of it, but until then, keep the top 4 inches engaged, set the pace, keep to the pace. This is all about, survival. This is all about, you've got to stay in there longer. And that comes down to your hydration, your nutrition, and your psychological kind of decision making. So just keep it steady, work it through.
I love that. I love the 20-20-20. I think that's class. I think that's great for us all to take, and then we can all keep an eye on each other as well. No, people aren't sort of doing it. People, keep an eye on each other, which is obviously going to be important. So, mate, I think that's absolutely awesome, lads. I hope you get plenty from that. I know I'll be replaying that to listen to it again and get myself prepped and ready. But Col, I really appreciate it, mate. You're a ledge. I'm
going to pop down on the day so I can have a look at what's going on, and anyone, if they need any kind of specific advice, tips, or help on the day, I'll be around intermittently to just lend a hand and see what I can do on the day.
So, thank you very much.
Best of luck. Get stuck in, fellas.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Col. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.